What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Power Play with CJ. I'm going to focus in on the Winnipeg Jets as part of the 2016-2017 season previews. A team I'm excited about, and I'm not just saying that because I say that about every team, but they're going to infuse a lot of youth in the lineup. I mean, you're looking at a team that obviously drafted Patrick Laine at number 2 overall, and I think he's going to be a beast that the fans in Winnipeg will fall in love with early, if they haven't already fallen in love with them. And obviously Kyle Connor, who I've spoken about ad nauseum. He's going to be a very, very, good and better player for this team early on. I watched what he did at the collegiate level. It's like, damn, that man can score goals. So between him and Laine, there's going to be a lot of excitement. But this is going to be a young team, and I think that's a good thing. I think Winnipeg, when they first got up there, they had that weird mix of veterans and like some young kids, and then they had that like real random playoff series with Anaheim that really wasn't a playoff series because Anaheim slapped them from here to Orange County. And again, they got the Evander Kane thing in the rearview mirror. Just throwing that out there. Andrew Ladd's gone. Obviously, you'd rather have Andrew Ladd than Evander Kane, but you're just starting over with new pieces. And the guys that you have, in terms of veterans, in terms of Blake Wheeler and Dustin Byfuglien, they've emerged as leaders on this team. And I'm curious to see what happens with Scheifele this year. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's the big-time number one center that you want in the Western Conference. 61 points in 71 games last year was amazing down the stretch, and I think we'll have 30 goals and probably 70 points next year. I think his playmaking, what he does with young guys like Connor, and I mean, again, Scheifele's 23, so he's a young guy himself. With Connor, with Laine, that'll be a fantastic, youth movement. And I think again, Winnipeg's one of those teams that tune in and watch them if you have the opportunity, because anytime you can watch a guy like Laine do his thing, you're gonna do it. Speaking of young players that are 23 and under, Jacob Trouba being unsigned, is that a cause of concern? No, because if they're going to move him, he would already be moved. He'll open the season with the Jets. I'm pretty confident. I know he's skating in South Florida, so maybe he'll do what LeBron did and leave the cold for South Florida. But no, he's not going to do that because the Panthers don't have the assets to retain him right now. So one of those things. And again, if I was in Florida and wanted to skate, then if I was in Florida, I'd be on the beach drinking Mai Tais and having a good time. But God bless him getting to skate in. And he was wearing his Jet stuff, so that's good stuff. But either way, I think he's going to bounce back in year 4. Trouba, I have all the confidence in the world in him. I think, he's going to be given a lot of responsibility, and he's going to take the proverbial ball and run with it. He is kind of the anchor on defense. Toby Enstrom's a nice player. Byfuglien, we all know what he can do. Tyler Myers has weirdly kind of found a niche in Winnipeg, which he's not the player he was. He's not the player we all thought he was going to be. And Mark Stewart's still roaming around. You forget Mark Stewart's a thing sometimes. Just a brief aside on Mark Stewart. The Bruins took him in the first round of the 2003 draft, ahead of some really good players, but they got Patrice Bergeron in the second round. So, in my brain, I switched them. So it's like, oh yeah, they got him in that draft. Some teams got Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf. Some teams got Mark Stewart. Is what it is, right? But yeah, blue line. If Trouba can, showcase that he's, very good and very talented, which I think he is. I think that the rest of the blue line kind of fall into place. And maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but I've seen what he can do. I think I still believe in him. I still believe he can be a very good defenseman at the NHL level. But anyway, that's our D. Going back to the forwards, talking about the young guys. Blake Wheeler, people forget, top 10 scorer in the NHL last year. So, as a Bruins fan that had to... Actually, speaking of the Bruins, when they traded him away, traded him and Stewart away. They got the final piece to the cup, which was the great philosopher Rich Beverly. So, yeah, I guess worked out. But, look at some of the other young guys. I like Andrew Kopp. I think he's a nice, solid... his potential to be a good middle six forward. Marco Dano, they got in the Andrew Ladd trade. Same thing. Armia, I thought was going to be a little bit better, but again, if he can kind of fill that, third, fourth line role, that's pretty cool. So they are getting a lot of youth in the lineup, which has been my case with this Winnipeg team. Get younger and try to get some excitement going. Get the fan, because I think the fans in Winnipeg are smart enough that maybe the team's not winning as much, but if there's young guys playing consistently, giving them glimmers of hope in the future, that's pretty damn cool. So another couple guys that I think fly under the radar, Brian Little and Perreault. I think Perreault looks shockingly like the Russian philosopher Rasputin. So it's I just throwing that out there. Good player, don't get me wrong, but new contract in hand too. So I don't know if he'd be killing any czars with that money, but see what happens. Drew Stafford, another one, American player. A lot of Americans up in Winnipeg between Wheeler, Bufflin, Stafford, Kyle Connor. A lot of American takeover in Manitoba. Might be on the lookout if I was the provincial minister. And then I left Ehlers out of the mix too. I think he's gonna have 50 points next year in year 2. And this nucleus, they had, I think last year Hockey News said they had the best core of players in the league, core of young players, and then they were able to add in the last 2 drafts Connor and Line A. So it's a good group, and Dano via trade. So we'll see if that translates to wins. But again, if you're flipping through the stations on the NHL center ice package, and Winnipeg's playing, for sure throw them on, because I think they'll be worth your time. That being said, they also give up a lot of goals because Andrei Pavlik sucks. Atrocious. Not a real NHL goalie, but they keep wheeling him out like he is. Michael Hutchinson, I thought, former Bruins farmhand Michael Hutchinson, I thought was going to be a nice kind of change up for them. That wasn't the case. Connor Hellebuck is ready, as far as I'm concerned, to take the ball and run with it, be the number 1 goalie in Winnipeg. But you got to clear out the other 2, which isn't happening anytime soon. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. If Hellebuck, who in 26 games had very good stats, comparably speaking, and was, has had 2 very good AHL seasons, I think he's ready. And I think the onus falls on the Jets to get him the opportunity to be that number 1 guy. So we'll see what happens with Shoveldayoff and the rest of the Jets nucleus of smart hockey people. But anyway, that's all. What do I predict for the Jets this season? Not a playoff team, but worth watching. Anyway, that's all I got this episode of the Power Play with CJ. Stay tuned for episodes for the off season and beyond. Later, guys.